gambled for support, and I gave it to him. I respect his motives. The boy on trial is probably guilty, but I want to hear more. Right now, the vote is 10 to 2. I'm talking here. You have no right to leave this number.
Never would. Shall we continue?
Well, I think we ought to take a break. You know, one man's inside, and I think we ought to wait for him.
Okay.
Looks like we got hung up here, huh? And that thing with the old man, that was pretty unexpected. Should I figure out some way we could break it up? You know, in advertising, I told you I work in an agency. You know, there's some pretty strange people working there. Well, they're not strange, really. I guess it's just that they have peculiar ways of expressing themselves, you know. Well, of course, I suppose it's the same in your business, too. What do you do?
I'm a watchmaker.
Oh, really? Well, I imagine the finest watchmakers in the world come from Europe, huh? Well, anyways, I was telling you, in an agency, when we reach a point like this, I'm telling you about in an ad agency, when a point like this is reaching a meeting, there's always some character ready with an idea to say. And it kills me. It's the weirdest thing in the world, the way they sometimes precede their idea with a little phrase. See, like, some account exec will get up and he'll say, okay, here's an idea, let's run it up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes it. It's idiotic, but it's funny.
A little excited back there. Didn't mean to get nasty. Glad you're not one of those Leslie's emotional appeals influencing.
What's the matter with that fan? Can't seem to get it started. Are you a salesman?
An architect.
You know what the soft sell is? Well, you got it. Believe me. I got a different technique. Plans, drinks, jokes, tricks. Yeah. Yeah. Hit them where they live. That's my motto. I made 27 grand actually selling marmalade. That's not bad. I mean, you know, I consider it marmalade. Well, what are you getting out of this, kicks? When somebody bumped you on the head one time and you hadn't gotten over it.
Maybe.
You know, you do-gooders are all alike. You're always drawing your stacks over some guy's fan. Well, what are you wasting our time for? Why don't you donate $5 to the cause and maybe it'll make you feel better? This kid is guilty, pal. It's as plain as the nose on your face. So why don't we stop wasting our time here? We're gonna all get sore throats if we keep it up, you know?
What difference does it make if you get it here at the ballgame?
No difference, pal. No difference at all. Nice bunch of guys, huh?
They're about the same as anyone else.
Boy, you're a murderous day. You think it'll be much longer?
Oh.
Oh, he's guilty for sure. Not a doubt in the whole world. We should have been done already. Oh, I don't mind you. Beats working. You think he's not guilty, huh?
I don't know. It's possible.
Well, I don't know you, but I'm betting you've never been wronger in your life. If you're wasting your time, you ought to wrap it up.
Supposing you were the one that was on trial.
Well, I'm not used to supposing. I'm just a working man. My boss does the supposing, but I'll try one. Supposing you talk us all out of this and kid really did knife his father, huh?
three things. I wrote four up there, but I'm going to say one for the next frame. I want to talk about norms and defending norms and social interactions. Now remember, there's an interesting thing here because I want you to remember our strategic alignment framework. We go from environment to strategy to intra-organizational structure. What is the culture of your organization? What is the formal structure? Who are the people? All of these things are in play even in small group dynamics. What are norms? What does that mean when I say that to you?
When I come in the class, I say, hi, how are you? And you say, hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
And if somebody doesn't say, hey, how are you doing?
It's not a norm. Like, hey, say, I'm not good. Like the way you gave example that your shoulder is not...
So one is that norms are the normal things that people do. What else does norms mean? Normative behavior. What does that mean when I say that?
It's like informal rules, informal processes.
Okay.
Expected.
Expected values, expected behaviors, expected processes. What did you notice in terms of norms of behavior here?
Well, something I noticed is this might go a little beyond that, but he's developed this culture of his own of like he doesn't really battle anybody, he doesn't fight anybody. He lets them do that on their own. And so when the old man was getting angry and he started yelling at the, hey, you can't leave the room, he stopped him. He said, whoa, whoa, whoa. He'll never listen. So he stopped.
But so this is a great point. So you and I are, you know, you be Davis, I'll be the old man, or I'll be Davis, you be the old man, whatever. But I say to you, what? It's okay. He can't hear you. He never will.
He never will.
Who's he talking to? Who am I talking to?
I'm not the old man.
What do you mean?
Kind of voicing it to the entire room.
I'm not actually telling the old man. I don't really care. That the old man's already on my team. I got him. I'm actually interested in building the rest of the team. So why am I talking to the rest of the room? What am I saying?
I think by voicing that, it's kind of an indirect attack on them, but really subtly done.
But what am I attacking? Say more. Like you're onto it. But what is it? What am I doing? This guy just walked out of the room, and the old man said, "I'm still talking. You can't walk out on me." And I just said, to your point, not to the old man, but to the rest of the room, like he can't hear you. He never will. What am I
I
saying?
think it's kind of like holding up a mirror of themselves to them and just showing them maybe that they should reconsider and it's showing them their ways.
Okay.
He's basically saying if you want to be seen as a hothead, that's how you act.
Okay. One critical strategic point of small group dynamics, maybe this is like point number 3. Can't remember where we are. Maybe it's 4. If you cannot build alliances around ideas and agreement on facts or agreement on points of arguments, build alliances on norms of behavior. So this is a brilliant moment. In my personal view, this is one of my favorite moments of this movie. Because basically, he's not actually talking to the old man. He's talking to the rest of the room, and he's like, if you want to hang out with those people, that's how they behave. But on my team, you just join my team. And on my team, we don't treat people like that. Right? He's basically saying, like, I may not be able to convince you guys of the truth right now, but notice how shitty these people are to the people who are on their team. Right? We don't behave like that. On our team, we treat people with civility and respect. Right? And it's a brilliant, brilliant thing, and it works. I guarantee you it works. If you find yourself in a logjam of trying to convince a room of people that you are sure that you're right and they don't believe you, you might want to take a break from the issues and start having discussions about process and norms of behavior. Because the room will break apart. It will suddenly fracture in terms of those who are willing to yell at people and not respect others, and those who are willing to actually have a discussion about, yeah, what's the process that we should have? Yeah, I agree. Like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I'm sorry for yelling. Or, there's a very, very different set of conversations around norms of behavior that's very, very powerful and very potent in small group dynamics. Right? And so it's to me, like, this is the next stage of the discussion, right? So we've had him emerge from strategy to transformation of his own leadership position, diminutive, sitting down, listening. Now I'm taking charge. And now we're looking at norms of behavior, right? Now the first clarion call has been set of, like, here's how we treat each other, right? That guy won't hear you never where he's rude. But in our team, that we do things differently, right? It's a very, very powerful thing. Social interactions. What's the significance of him going into the bathroom?
Only now is one-on-one interactions. It's completely different than the group setting.
Yeah, always remember when you're around a table and you're all routinized in your position and you're sort of got your elbows out and you got your tablets out and you got your computers out. It's a different dynamic when you follow someone out of a room and you, well, what do you think? What's going on? Are you upset? Like, how are things going? Are you okay?
I don't even know what we're talking about.
But there's important things about social interaction that are important in group dynamics, right? Like, it's just a very different thing. And so I think, yeah.
I think it also showed that he's not going to back down. He's not intimidated by any of those guys, because the people that went into the bathroom were people that were some of the strongest adversaries. But
Right. He followed the salesman in there, right?
Calmly did his thing and didn't respond. So he's showing them that he's not going to back down.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And what's interesting too, or what are the rest of the people in the room thinking? Like, those two guys just left. They're left to imagine what that conversation is about. Like, is
Good
he,
point.
like,
Right.
convincing the salesman at this point? Is he kind of telling them to tone down, or?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice point. Like, people wonder, like, what's going on behind the closed doors, and good. All right. Okay. Next scene.
Okay, fellas, let's take our seats. Looks like we'll be here for dinner, huh? Okay, now, let's get down to business. Now, who wants to start off?
I will.
Okay, go.
You, down there. The old man who lived downstairs says he heard the kid yell out, "I'm going to kill you." Second later, he heard the body hit the floor. Now, he ran to the door, and he saw the kid running down the stairs and out of the house. What does that mean to you?
I was wondering how clearly the old man could have heard the boy's voice through the ceiling.
Didn't hear it through the ceiling. The window was open. So was the one upstairs. It was a hot night, remember?
It was another apartment. It's not that easy to identify a voice, particularly a shouting voice.
Identified it in court.
That's right. And don't forget the lady across the street. She looked right in the open window and saw the boy stab his father. Now, I mean, isn't that enough for you?
No, it isn't.
Boy, how do you like this guy, huh? It's like talking to a dead phone.
She said she saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevator train. There were 6 cars on the train. She saw the killing through the last 2 cars. She remembered the most insignificant details. I don't see how you can argue with that.
Has anybody here any idea how long it would take an L? This isn't a game.
Did you see him? The nerve.
All right, listen.
The absolute nerve.
All right, forget it. It's not important.
This isn't a game.
No, listen now.
Who does he think he is?
All right, come on. Look, we'll forget it now.
Has anybody any idea how long it takes an elevator train going at medium speed to pass a given point?
What does that have to do with it?
How long? Take a guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
What do you think?
I don't know, maybe 10, 12 seconds?
I think that's a pretty good guess. Anyone else?
That sounds right to me.
Come on, what's the guessing game for?
What do you say?
10 seconds is about right.
All right, say 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. It takes a 6-car L train 10 seconds to pass a given point. Now let's say the given point is the open window of the room where the killing took place. You can read reach out of that window and almost touch the L tracks, right? Now let me ask you this. Has anyone here ever lived near the L tracks?
Well, I just finished painting an apartment that overlooked an L line. I was there for 3 days.
What was it like?
What do you mean?
Noisy?
Oh, brother. No matter, though, we're all punchy.
I lived in a second-floor apartment near the L line once. When the window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can hardly hear yourself think.
Right, you can't hear yourself think. Well, you get to the point.
I will, now just a minute. Let's take 2 pieces of testimony and try to put them together. First, the old man in the apartment downstairs. He says he heard the boy say, "I'm gonna kill you," and a split second later heard a body hit the floor. 1 second later, right?
That's right.
Second. The woman across the street swore positively she looked out of the window and saw the killing through the last 2 cars of a passing elevated train, right? The last 2 cars.
Well, what are you giving us here?
Just a minute. We've agreed that it takes 10 seconds for a train to pass a given point. Since the woman saw the killing through the last 2 cars, we can assume that the body hit the floor just as the train went by. Therefore, the train had been roaring by the old man's window a full 10 seconds before the body hit the floor. The old man, according to his own testimony, "I'm going to kill you," body hitting the floor a split second later, would have had to hear the boy make this statement with the air roaring past his nose. It's not possible he could have heard it.
That's idiotic. Of course he heard
Do you think he could have heard it?
He said he yelled at the top of his voice. That's good enough for me.
Even if he heard something, he still could have identified the voice with the air roaring by.
You're talking about a matter of seconds. Nobody can be that accurate.
Well, I think testimony that could put a boy into the electric chair should be that accurate.
Something I don't think he could have heard it. If he didn't hear it, I mean, with all that L noise.
Oh, what are you people talking about?
That's the reason he couldn't have heard it.
Why should he lie? What's he got to gain? Attention, maybe. You keep coming in with these bright sayings. Why don't you send them into a paper? They pay $3 a piece.
What are you talking to him like that for? Guy talks like that to an old man, really ought to get stepped on, you know? You ought to have more respect, mister. You say stuff like that to him again, I'm gonna lay you out. You go ahead, you say anything you like. Why do you think the old man might lie?
It was just that I looked at him for a very long time. Seemed the jacket was split under the shoulder. Oh, did you notice that? I mean, to come to court like that. He was a very old man in a torn jacket. He walked very slowly to the stand. He was dragging his left leg and trying to hide it because he was ashamed. I think I know this man better than anyone here. This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant old man who has been nothing all his life, who has never had recognition or his name in the newspapers. Nobody knows him. Nobody quotes him. Nobody seeks his advice after 75 years. Gentlemen, that's a very sad thing to think nothing. A man like this needs to be quoted, to be listened to be quoted just once. Very important to him. It'd be so hard for him to recede into the background.
Now, wait a minute. What are you trying to do? Tell us he'd lie just so he could be important once?
No, he would really lie, but perhaps he made himself believe he heard those words and recognized the boy's face.
That's the most fantastic story I've ever heard. How can you make up a thing like that? What do you know about it?
Does anybody want a cough drop?
I'll take one.
You can say what you like. I still don't see how anybody can think it's not guilty.
There's something else I'd like to talk about for a minute. Nice. I think we proved that the old man couldn't have heard the voice say, "I'm gonna kill you." But supposing he did.
Prove it at all. What are you talking about?
Supposing he really did hear it. This phrase, how many times have all of us used it? Probably thousands. I could kill you for that, darling. Junior, you do that once more, and I'm gonna kill you. Get in there, Rocky, and kill. I say it every day. That doesn't mean we're really gonna kill him.
Wait a minute. What are you trying to give us here? The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you." The kid yelled it at the top of his lungs. Don't tell me you didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that the way he said it, they mean it.
Well, gee, now, I don't know. I I remember I was arguing with a guy I worked next to at the bank a couple weeks ago. He called me an idiot, so I yelled at him.
Now listen, this guy's trying to make you believe things that aren't so. The kid said he was going to kill him, and he did kill him.
Let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy'd shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear him? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Bright? He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
Doesn't.
Mr. Foreman, I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
You what?
You heard me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
The vote is 9 to 3 favor of guilty.
This isn't the way.
Okay. First of all, on the leadership front, again, just to follow on the thing, you can, or follow on what we talked about in the last pasture, you can sort of see what emerges from the restroom in a very different state, right? I mean, he's now in control of the room. I got my teammate. We won like the first part of this structure, or this process, and now I need to set in place the new strategy that we're going to be embarking on, right? And similar to the knife issue, he obviously has things on his mind, but he didn't want to give any of those things away. So it kind of harkens back in some ways to what we were talking about initially. In the early stages of a discussion or debate, you are much better off listening and revealing little. Because one, you will just set up targets that will be dismissed, but two, you will gather data that will allow you then to make your arguments effectively as you go forward. Right? And so this is a very powerful thing. It happens with a knife and it happens now. So you can imagine a similar situation. If he comes into the room and he's like, you know, I had this thing, I just said I can't put these pieces of testimony together. It would have been put aside by all of those who believe that they know what's right, right? So he waited. Right? Now, what is facilitation? How does that enter into this scene? How does this scene unfold?
He's taking more control of the room, taking more maybe space from the foreman, and asserting his position and organizing people to think more collectively towards the issue and cracking holes into the arguments.
Okay.
He's kind of putting two things together that maybe other people didn't, as far as the time of the train and what the person saw and heard. So, okay, how long does it take a train to pass? Anyone have an idea? It's getting people to think about the timing and how long that would take. How easily can you see it?
But who does he ask that question? First of all, is that a hard question?
No.
You can't get that question wrong, right? How long does it take a train to pass?
10 to 12 seconds.
10 to 12 seconds? You can't get that question wrong, right? I just want an answer, right? But who does he ask those questions to?
Well, he's getting buy-in, right? So, like, he's...
But who does he ask the questions to?
The people who are already...
Who?
The banker.
First person, again, look at details in the room. Who does he ask questions to?
People on the fence.
First person he says, who does it take, how long does it take a train to pass? Who are you?
Peter.
No, you're the man from the slums. Right? Notice the man from the slums and the next person is? Actually you. The bank teller. Why these two people? Because they're his next two targets. Right? Like notice, okay? We already got the old man. Our list was the old man, the man from the slums, and the bank teller. These are the conversions, right? I already got the old man. Now I need the man from the slums and the bank teller. Why am I asking you and you how long it takes a train to pass? Empowers us, and what else?
If I say that it takes 10 to 12 seconds, then I can't, once you show that that can't fit, I either have to undermine my own argument or go along with your argument.
But it also, it lets them be in a position of power, and it gets me to accept and agree with what you're saying. So, you know, maybe you'll be better, you'll think, maybe you'll agree with what I have to say.
I'm the man of power in the room now. We all know that, right? Like I won the process. I converted the old man. I'm working the room, right? I'm like the guy saying like, come over to me. I'm the Messiah in this room. I'm the guy. I'm the guy in the white suit. But if I ask the two weak players who I think are on the fence, and then I make my argument, what just happened? No. It doesn't just validate them. We three just made an argument together. You guys made it. I didn't make the argument. You told me how long it takes a train to pass, and you 10 to 12 seconds. I think that's about right. How long do you think? 10 to, I think that's about right. Yes, right? Now the three of us are making an argument together, and when I present my argument, which is the same argument I would have presented if I would have asked you, or made it myself, now the three of us are on the same team. You didn't even know it, but you're on my team now, right? This is a very important thing in small group dynamics, and it's a very important thing for your life and organizations going forward. Facilitation is the easiest skill to learn, and it's the most underlearned skill. Your life will change when you learn how to work a room. Whatever you have to do, this class won't be enough, but take a class on facilitation, get practice, teach a class, whatever you have to do. Facilitation will be your greatest ally, because once you learn how to work a room and say like, oh, you and you are my two targets, we're going to make an argument together. What did you say, 10 to 12 seconds? What do you think, 10 to 12 seconds? Yeah, we think 10 to 12 seconds. And then he says later, I think we've already proved. And then these two guys are like, yeah, we proved that, didn't we? Yeah, I'm part of that team. Yeah, we're awesome, right? But notice something else that he does. What does he do when he walks around here? He's like, so how long does it take? And da-da-da, and I think we put it in, da-da-da-da-da. And he stands next to these two guys, and he's like, so what is it that we're trying to prove here?
That's something I really noticed. He's contacting people. He's like grabbing their shoulders. He touched a painter.
But notice who these two guys are, right? He stands here right next to, in between, the broker and the guy from the messenger service, and he says, and I don't think it's possible that you could have heard it. Now, what does that do? Even though these guys disagree with me wholeheartedly, they're my enemies. But just because I'm speaking to you from us three, it looks like we're all saying that, right? These guys, we all just said, you can't possibly have heard that, right? And that's just because of how he's working the room, right? That's just because of body language. And you'll notice, it's sort of a funny thing, because once you learn to teach a business school class, you learn facilitation. And now a couple of my people who have taken business school classes with me and are now on my staff, and they see me work in a room like this, they're like, I saw how you did that. I saw how you went behind us and like made it look like I was agreeing with you when you said, yeah, that's what we want to do. They're like, I didn't agree with you. And I'm like, sorry, that was just facilitation. Sorry, you lost the chance. But the point is that making that room speak for you, right? Now, it's a little bit manipulative. And so here we're kind of getting to a part of the discussion that sometimes people feel a little bit uncomfortable with. Because this guy isn't a white knight. Right? I mean, he is making the normatively great argument. He's like arguing for the boy's life, and it's anti-capital punishment and all that. But imagine if he was the one arguing for the boy's death. Right? Would we think the same thing about him? Right? There's a way that he's manipulating the room. And so sometimes I teach this case, and people get very nervous. There's at least one or two people in the room who are like, I feel very uncomfortable. This guy's so manipulative, but we think he's so great. Does anybody feel like that? No? Nobody wants to admit it? But I just want to be clear about this. You should feel like that. And the reality is that organizations are like that. Sometimes you will be in situations, and I'm not asking you to break norms or break values of what you need to do, but sometimes you'll be in situations in organizations where you have to manipulate people. Organizations are political. You're going to have to see the greater good of the organization and figure out how am I going to win? How am I going to get this argument through? How am I going to get my team to see me as having the right argument? Right? And that's just life. Right? And so I think all of those things are really important. Now we need to go on, so I'm sorry, but let's push that into the next discussion, but I need to make sure that we're on track.
What are you basing it on? Stories this guy made up? You ought to write for one of those kooky detective magazines. It'd make a fortune. For crying out loud, the kid's own lawyer knew he didn't stand a chance. Right from the beginning, his own lawyer knew. You could see it. Boy, I'm telling you, this guy here is really something. Look, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? He presented his case, not you. How come you got so much to say? Look, lawyers aren't infallible in Baltimore, please, huh?
He was never appointed.
Well, what's that supposed to
It could mean a lot of things. It could mean he didn't want the case, or he resented being appointed. The kind of case that brings you nothing. No money, no glory, not even much chance of winning. That's not a very promising situation for a young lawyer. He'd really have to believe in his client to put up any kind of a good case, and as you pointed out a minute ago, obviously he didn't.
Oh, of course he didn't. Well, who the heck could? Maybe some guy's mother or somebody. Oh, look, will you look at the time? Huh? Come on.
Pardon me.
I have made some notes here, and
I would like please to say something.
I have been listening very carefully, and it seems to me that this man has some very good points to make.
From what was presented at the trial, the boy looks guilty on the surface, but maybe we go deeper.
Come on, will you?
There's a question I would like to ask. Let us assume that the boy really did commit the murder. Now, this happened at 10 minutes after 12. How was he caught by the police? He came back home at 3 o'clock or so, and he was captured by 2 detectives in the hallway of his house. Now, my question is, if he really had killed his father, why did he come back home 3 hours later? Wouldn't he be afraid of being home?
You only got his knife. It's not nice to around with knives sticking in people's chests. Yeah, especially relatives.
I don't see anything funny about it. The boy knew the knife could be identified as the one he just brought. He had to get it before the police did.
But if he knew the knife could be identified, why did he leave it there in the first place?
Well, I think we can assume the boy ran out in a state of panic after having just killed his father. When finally calmed down, he realized he had left his knife there.
This then depends on your definition of panic. He would have had to be kind enough to see to it that there were no fingerprints left on the knife. Now, where did this panic start and where did it end?
Look, you voted guilty. What side are you on?
I don't believe I have to be loyal to one side or the other. I'm simply asking questions.
Well, this is just off the top of my head, but, well, if I were the boy and I'd done the stabbing and everything, I'd take a chance and go back to the knife. I'll bet he figured that nobody had seen him running out, and that the body wouldn't be discovered the next day. Well, after all, it was the middle of the night. I'll bet he figured nobody would find the body the next day.
Pardon, this is my whole point. The woman across the street testified that a moment after she saw the killing, that is a moment after the train went by, she screamed and then went to telephone the police. Now, the boy certainly must have heard the scream, so he knew that somebody saw something. I just don't think that he would have gone back.
Two things. One, in his state of panic, he may not have heard the scream. Perhaps it wasn't very loud. Two, if he did hear it, he may not have connected it with his own act. Remember, he lived in a neighborhood where screams were fairly commonplace. There's your answer.
Maybe. Maybe the boy did kill his father. Didn't hear the scream, did run out in a panic, did calm down 3 hours later and come back to get the knife, risking being caught by the police. Maybe all of those things happened, but maybe they didn't. I think there's enough doubt that we can wonder whether he was there at all during the time the killing took place.
What do you mean, Del? What are you talking about? Didn't the old man see him running out of the house? He's twisting the facts, I'm telling you. Did or didn't the old man see the kid running out of the house at 12:10? Well, did or didn't he?
He says he did.
Says he did. Boy, how do you like that?
Well, witnesses can make mistakes.
Sure, when you want them to, they do. Or when he wants them to, they do. You know what I mean?
Yelling down.
Oh, you keep saying that. Maybe what we need is a little yelling in here. These guys keep going off every which way. Did hear the scream, didn't hear the scream. What difference does it make? You people are talking only about the little details. You're forgetting the important stuff. I mean, all of a sudden, everybody here. I'm talking here.
Have a vote called for. Now let's take our seats.
I never saw so much spent on nothing.
It only takes a second.
Okay, I guess the fastest way is to find out who's voting not guilty. All those voting not guilty, please raise your hands. Still the same. 1, 2, 3 not guilty, 9 guilty.
Where are we? I thought we were gonna yada yada here next Tuesday. Where's you all getting us? Pardon? I vote not guilty. Oh.
What? What are you talking about? I mean, we're all going crazy in here or something. The kid is guilty. Why don't you listen to the facts? Tell him, will you? And this is getting to be a joke.
The vote is 8 to 4, favor of guilty.
Hey, what is this? Love your underprivileged brother week or something? I want you to get up and tell me why you changed your vote. Come on, now, give me reasons.
I don't have to defend my decision to you. There is a reasonable doubt in my mind.
What reasonable doubt? That's nothing but words. Here, look at this. The kid you just decided isn't guilty was seen ramming this into his father. Now, what about this, Mr. Reasonable Doubt?
That's not the knife. Don't you remember?
Oh, brilliant.
Telling all this is the craziest. I mean, what are we supposed to believe? I mean, you're sitting here, you're pulling stories out of thin air, you know? Well, a guy like this, if he's sitting ringside at the Dempsey football fight, he'd be trying to tell you that, Look, now what about the old man? Are we supposed to believe that he didn't get up and run to his door and see the kid tearing down the steps 15 seconds after the killing? He's just saying so to be important, right? I mean, what's the point of the whole thing? Yeah, and the Baltimore Rooter is hurting again now. And pop-ups are full of a base hits wherever we look.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked, what's the difference? He got on, did he? I mean, he got there, didn't he?
No, well, wait a second. He said he ran. At least I think he did. I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could have run to the door.
He said he went from his bedroom to the front door. Now, isn't that enough?
Where was the bedroom?
It was down the hall somewhere.
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No. Mr. Foreman, I'd like to see a diagram of the apartment.
Look, why don't we just have him on a trial all over again? So we get everything
How come
straight?
you're the only one in this room who wants to see exhibits all the time? I'll see this one, too.
I'd like to stop wasting time. We're going to start wading through all that nonsense about where the body was found.
That's somebody else wants to, but I'd like to find out if an old man who drags one foot when he walks because he had a stroke last year can get from his bedroom to his front door in 15 seconds.
20 seconds.
He said 15.
He said
20 seconds. What are you trying to
He said
destroy?
15.
How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge a thing like that.
He said 15 seconds. He was very positive about it.
He was an old man. Half the time he was confused. How can he be positive about anything?
I don't see what you're going to prove here. The man said he saw the boy running out.
Well, let's see if the details bear him out. As soon as the body hit the floor, he said he heard footsteps upstairs running toward the front door. Heard the upstairs door open, the footsteps start down the stairs. He said he got to his own front door as fast as he could. He swore it couldn't have been more than 15 seconds. As the killer began running immediately.
But maybe he did.
The old man said he did.
You ought to be in Atlantic City at that hair splitters convention. Hey, why don't you stop making smart remarks all the time? Oh, my friend, for your $3 a day.
All right, now we got that thing in here. What about it? All right, here's the apartment where the killing took place. The old man's apartment was directly beneath him, exactly the same. Here are the L tracks, the bedroom, living room, kitchen, bathroom. Here's the hall. Here the stairs. Now, the old man was in this bedroom right here. He says he crossed to the door and walked down the hall, opened the front door, just in time to see the boy running down the stairs. Am I right so far? That's the story for the 19th.
15 seconds after the body hit the floor.
Correct.
Now, let's see. It's 12 feet from the bed to the door. The hall is 43 feet. He would have had to walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet down, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. Do you think he could have done it?
Sure he could have done it.
He can walk only very slowly. They have to help him into the witness
You
chair.
make it sound like a long walk.
For an old man who had a stroke, it is a long walk.
Oh, what do you do?
I'm going to try it, see how much of it.
What do you mean you want to try? Why didn't his lawyer bring it up of its own accord?
Maybe he just didn't think about
What do you mean didn't think of it? If you think a man's an idiot or something, it's an obvious thing.
Did you think of it?
Listen, smart guy, don't matter whether I thought of it. He didn't bring it up because he knew it would hurt his case. What do you think of that?
Maybe he didn't bring it up because it would have meant bullying and badgering a helpless old man. You know that doesn't sit very well with a jury. Most lawyers avoid it if they can.
So what kind of a bum is he then?
That's what I've been asking, buddy. Pass me that chair, will you? Those two chairs in the old man's bed, I just paced off 12 feet across the room. This would be the bedroom door.
Oh, that's crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that.
The hall is 43 feet. I'll pace over that wall and back again.
Look, this is absolutely insane. What do you waste everybody's time in here for?
According to you, lawyer, take 15 seconds. Now, we can spare that, see?
back there and mark the front door? It was chain locked according to the testimony, remember? Has anybody got a watch for the second hand?
I have.
You want me to start stamp your foot? That'll be the body falling. You can tie me from there.
What are we gonna do, play charades now?
Come on, what are we waiting for?
Well, I want to wait till the second hand reaches 60.
Come on, speed it up. He'd fall twice as fast as that. You want me to walk faster than that? I will. Lock, door, stop.
Right.
What's the time?
Exactly 41 seconds.
Just like the cap. The old man heard the fight between the boy and his father a few hours earlier. Then when he's lying in his bed, he heard a body hit the floor of the boy's apartment, heard the woman scream from across the street, got to his front door as fast as he could, heard somebody racing down the stairs, then assumed it was the boy. I think that's possible.
Assume! Brother, I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake. You all come in here with your hearts bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice. You listen to some fairy tale. Suddenly you start getting through to some of these old ladies. Well, you're not getting through to me. I've had enough. What's the matter with you guys? You all know he's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers. Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid, you bet I would.
I feel sorry for you. What it must feel like to want to pull the switch. Ever since you walked into this room, you've been acting like a self-appointed public avenger. You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts. You're a sadist.
Kill him, Mom. Kill him!
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Okay. I just want to stay on schedule, so I'm going to be quick on this, but we need to talk about a couple of things. One is modeling behavior, and a second is group dynamics. And I'm going to try to talk about these two things together. Because modeling behavior has been what he's kind of been doing from the beginning, right? He's been asking questions, poking holes, taking on greater leadership dynamics and roles. And then the group dynamics have changed because he's like messed things up, right? I mean, he's like doing this thing, what are we going to do? Play charades now? Right? And these kind of things are separate, but they kind of go together. So what are we talking about when we're talking about modeling behavior? What do you notice in the room?
Well, they're all beginning to take on the behavior of Fonda. They're standing back, they're watching, they're quiet. They're not talking amongst themselves as they were in the past.
Yes, although there's a different way of modeling behavior.
I was going to say, coming back to last week, it seems like everyone's putting themselves in the shoes of that 18-year-old boy now. And everyone's saying, well, if I were him, this is what I'd be feeling, or I'd be scared here. And more than just Henry Fonda or saying things like that.
And the watchmaker says at some point, like, I'm not trying to defend anything, I'm just asking questions, right? I mean, he's very much like doing exactly what Henry Fonda was doing, and he's defending it.
When you said modeling behavior, do you mean imitating behavior, or do you mean something else?
Yeah, well, he's been modeling behavior, and now that modeling of behavior is actually becoming a way of acting for the group. So maybe it's imitating behavior, but he becomes the model for that behavior, right? I mean, it's a very interesting thing that a leader always feels the burden of, is that you have to always think, if you're going to take that leadership mantle, and you're going to do it effectively, people are going to be watching you. And if you're effective at it, people are going to start doing what you do. Right? So he's been asking questions and poking holes and you know, pushing things forward. And now he has his team. He has 3 people, but now the watchmaker is maybe going to come over, and like there's lots of different people that are a part of this group. Right? And so the modeling of behavior becomes the way in which you interact within this entire group dynamic. Now, there is an interesting thing about the group dynamic. that's just a side issue, and we already talked about it a little bit. But the playing charades thing is not a small thing. You know, did you ever notice, like when you're sitting in a 12-hour meeting, or over a course of a semester when you sit in the same seat every week, you kind of adopt the same kind of persona, right? But when you come in, and if you were to come into that dynamic and change this, right? I'm going to sit in the back row. I'm going to be one of the bad kids, or I'm going to sit in the middle and be different. Like there are ways in which kind of engaging in interpersonal dynamics, just like the bathroom scene, kind of creates different social interactions and ultimately different social dynamics in terms of advancing arguments. Right? But the most important thing that I want to talk about here in this dynamic, and both of these things feed into this, is empowerment. What does empowerment mean, and how does it relate to this scene? And just to give you a headline on this, think about the watchmaker, the painter, the bank teller, the man from slums. They're all different characters now.
Just wanted to be able to stand up and talk and speak your own point of view instead of kind of waiting to see what everyone else does and goes with.
Notice the transformation of this guy, the man from the slums, who initially said, like, can I pass? To being, it only takes 15 seconds. You can spare that. Right? Like, wow. No, granted, this is Jack Klugman and it's acting and like, but wow, right? Like this guy. I'm on this guy's team. I love him. He is like the guy. I'm supportive of him, and like I feel power because he gave me power. Right? And so note that the success of Davis is not just about his ability to make arguments. The success is that he played diminutive for long enough, then took on a leadership position, but modeled a behavior that had norms of interaction associated with it, that these people are now like, I like this. I want to be a part of this team. So the watchmaker, the man from the slums, the bank teller who's like, you know, this little also diminutive guy, he's like, knock it off. Why are you whistling? This is important. Right? Like, kind of a know-it-all little guy, but like, you know, I mean, and the painter, of course, is like willing to like lay somebody out because they're talking bad to the old man, right? And so like, there's just like this new thing that's going on. Like, you know, and hopefully like the groups and teams that you are in your own organizations aren't going to come to fisticuffs and threats of laying people out, but note the dynamics, right? The dynamics are about your strategy, then your leadership position in that strategy, and then the creation of formal structures, i.e. process, and then the creation of norms and values that convince people, independent of whether or not they agree with you about your answer, that those norms and values are worth being a part of. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Okay? Now, in each of those cases, I think you can see it. All right, I'm sorry we got to push on, but I just want to keep us on schedule. But keep watching for these same dynamics in the next. Oh, sorry. This is just one thing I want you to think about. We won't discuss it right now, but we'll discuss it at the end. There's this moment in the movie is like probably the one thing that I mean, in some ways Henry Fonda is this kind of great protagonist and this white knight, and he's dressed in a white suit, and it's wonderful, and he's so good looking and so charismatic. But I don't love this moment when he pushes the boundaries. He kind of grinds this guy's face into the sand at this moment, right? Like he kind of lords it over him, like, you don't really mean you'll kill me, do you? Right? I mean, he kind of like, he's feeling his power. Right? And this is the only point of the movie that makes me uncomfortable, because when you have power, you need to be careful with how far you push the boundaries of that power? How much are you willing to make someone else look stupid? Right? Are you really willing to grind someone else's face into the sand and say, like, you don't really mean you'll kill me, do you? I know you said that before, that you're so stupid that you are, you know, like, and so there's kind of it's ironic, and I'm sure that I think this director is brilliant, so I'm sure but it's a little bit ironic because he calls him a sadist, but actually at this moment, Henry Fonda feels a little bit like a sadist to me, right? He feels like a little bit like and so just remember that for the end, yeah.
But he's basically making his point, similar to the way he used the person, old man,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. He's saying, well, clearly to the guy who's losing his mind, saying, I'm going to kill you, this is not what you want.
Yes.
Everyone else around, see, yeah, people do say, I'm going to kill you. And we may think it doesn't happen all the time, or we would never use it that way. But
Yes.
we are, and we have.
But the point we're going to come back to at the end is that as a leader, if you want to be a leader, if you just want to be a winner, it doesn't matter if you grind people into the sand. But if you want to be a leader, you need to think about healing and nurturing group dynamics. You need to think about who's a part of your team, and even those people you might hate or that you want to destroy, you need to think about how they're going to be in the end. And so but we'll come back to it, because I think it's just an important point. Okay.
Anything wrong, gentlemen? I heard some noise.
Oh, everything's all right. We're just, friendly little argument. Listen, we're through with that diagram. You can take it if you want. Yeah.
What are they looking at?
I suppose somebody has to start off again.
I beg pardon.
I beg pardon. What are you so polite about?
For the same reason you're not. It's the way I was brought up. This fighting, that's not why we are here to fight. We have a responsibility. This I have always thought is a remarkable thing about democracy, that we are, what is the word? Notified. That we are notified by mail to come down to this place to decide on the guilt or innocence of a man we have never heard of before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict. This is one of the reasons why we are strong. We should not make it a personal thing.
Nobody else has an idea. I might have a cue here. I mean, I haven't given it much thought, but let's throw it out in the stoop and see if the cat picks it up. Okay. That's the boy. Well, look how dark it's getting out there. I bet we're gonna have a storm now. Boy, oh boy, it's really hot, huh? Pardon me, but don't you ever sweat?
No, I don't.
Well, listen, I was wondering if maybe we should take another vote. Oh, great. Maybe we can follow this one up with a little dancing and refreshments, huh? Mr. Foreman?
Well, that's okay with me. Anyone doesn't want to vote?
Sorry.
I think we ought to have an open ballot. Call out our votes, Let's see who stands where.
Well, that sounds fair to me. Anyone object? Okay, I'll call off your jury numbers. 1. Oh, that's me. I vote guilty. 2.
Not guilty.
Number 3.
Guilty.
Number 4.
Guilty.
Number 5.
Not guilty.
Number 6.
Not guilty.
Number 7.
Guilty.
Number 8.
Not guilty.
Number 9.
Not guilty.
Number 10.
Guilty.
Number 11.
Not guilty.
12? Number 12.
Guilty.
The vote is now 6-6.
Yeah, and we go into extra innings here, huh?
6-6. I'm telling you, some of you people in here must be out of your minds. A kid like that. I don't think the kind of boy he is has anything to do with it. The facts are supposed to determine the case. Don't give me that. I'm sick and tired of facts. You can twist them any way you like. You know what I mean? That's exactly the point this gentleman has been making. Oh. I mean, you keep shouting at the top of your lungs. I'd like to be a few years younger. That man gets on my... Well, it's hot in here, isn't it, huh?
Want a drink of water?
No, thanks.
It's gonna rain.
Well, how'd you figure that out, killer? How come you changed your vote?
Well, it just seemed to me there was room for doubt.
Well, you haven't got a leg to stand on, you know that, I hope.
Oh, I don't feel that way. There were a lot of details that never came out.
Well, good luck.
Oh, come on. You're like everybody else. You think too much, you get mixed up. You know what I mean?
Now, listen, I don't think you have any right to loud mouth.
Look at that come down, will you? You know, this reminds me of a storm we had last... was it November? I don't know, something. It was quite a storm we had. It was right in the middle of the game. We were behind 7-6, but just started to move the ball. Real temper. I started cut right, slash field, slash right in, cut right. And we had this kid Slattery. He was a fox, a real big fox. I wish I had another one just like him. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm the assistant head coach at the Andrew J. McCorkle High School. Yeah, that's out of Queen. And anyway, starting to move along real nicely. You know, the whole line is just coming apart. And it starts to come down, the cats and dogs, just like this. Just whoosh, right down.